everybody. Hello and welcome. We are so excited to welcome you to today's live event all about accessibility, awareness, and flip. My name is Ann Cosma. I'm one of the educator innovation leads on Team Flip, a teacher helping teachers. And I'm so excited to welcome some awesome friends, teammates, and thought leaders in this space, talking accessibility, inclusion, awareness, and of course, how Microsoft Flip can help not only empower diverse learners, but create inclusive learning environments. So, Jaritza, let's have a hello. Hi, friend. You ready?
Hi. Yes, I am super pumped. I'm ready. I'm excited. I'm Jaritza Vijalba, and I'm also an educator innovation lead for Team Flip. This conversation is a must-have, and I'm just ready to go.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get this screen called out. I do also want to say we do have Tyler, who is going to be hopefully interpreting for us. We just had a little technical blip and lost him in the feed, but hopefully he is able to join us again in just a moment. And if we do, we'll be able to have ASL interpretation as well. But friends, I told you this is an incredible conversation. We have some brilliant minds and thought leaders in this space that we are excited to welcome. And as we get started, we always love to kick off with our mission. We are on a mission to make learning fun and empowering for everybody. And anytime we have the chance to connect with our community, we love starting off simply by sharing that, because together we can and together we are.
Well, friends, we're celebrating a ton of things this month. First, we are celebrating Asian and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Month. This is a time for you to celebrate the diverse cultures, the rich histories, and the unique heritage of all of these multifaceted communities. It is also Mental Health Awareness Month. And at Microsoft, we believe that it is an important reminder for us to just pause for a second and reflect on our mental health and well-being. And don't forget, tomorrow is Global Accessibility Awareness, and that is dedicated to raising an awareness of accessibility issues that impact folks with disabilities, whether temporary, permanent, or situational.
Oh my gosh, it's an incredible month of learning. So we're so excited to have this conversation, and we're ready to welcome our first guest. So joining us on screen is the founder of Deaf Kids Code, Shireen Hafiz. Shireen, welcome.
Hello, everyone.
Hi. How are you?
I'm well. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
We are so thrilled to welcome you to this conversation. Why don't you let our listeners know a little bit about you, do an introduction, and talk about maybe your experience and your passion for being an advocate, an ally, and a champion for accessibility and inclusion. We'd love to learn a little bit more about you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a mother of a child that was born with severe hearing loss. So that's the starting point for everything. Started Deaf Kids Code in 2015. Our mission is that we promote computer science, technology, and design thinking skills to kids who are deaf and hard of hearing as an innovative tool to encourage them into greater participation in our world. Really, our motto is that the digital age is the great equalizer. And that's what makes this discussion so powerful, because Microsoft Flip is a platform that we're recently going to be embodying and using. And I'll tell you more about that. But yeah, we've done programming in over 50 locations across the country and in the world, and have worked with over 12,000 plus students since then. And, just very happy to share my tidbits of wisdom and knowledge with everybody out there.
Oh my gosh, tidbits of wisdom. You have incredible insights and passion that drives the work that you do. And we're just so excited to have this conversation with you. Tidbits of wisdom, right? Was that what you just said? I love that.
Tidbits of wisdom.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Well, this conversation is focusing on not only those tidbits of wisdom, but ideas to inspire and help you be even more aware about how we can make inclusive learning spaces. So I'm going to go ahead and advance to the next screen. And I think we're doing some back end magic for those who are listening in. We do have Tyler who will be joining us momentarily as an ASL sign language interpreter. So we'll get him added to the screen shortly. But Shireen, Jaritza, I know this is a comic we've all seen before, and folks out there may or may not have seen it. So take a peek at it and read that text bubble. For a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. Please climb that tree. And wow, that is a profound visual.
Yeah.
And I'd love to just open up the conversation on this.
Where do I start? I've seen this image a dozen times, and I'm always asking myself, let's just be real about differentiation. What does that mean? What does it look like in each space? How are we really preparing to meet the needs of each individual student? And it brings up this idea of, now, is the true goal to get everyone to the top of that tree? Or can we create different teaching resources and conversations that meet the needs of students, that shows them the skills that's necessary to learn whatever it is at the top, right? And I'm always constantly battling between the two, because what is the absolute goal when we think about curriculum, when we think about resources, when we think about how do we make them readily available to our learners?
I'm going to go ahead and jump back in this conversation. I see some quotes already in the chat. Jess is mentioning tuning in. The graphic always speaks volumes. Frank, this is a great question. What is success for each individual? And Becky, this comment about the digital equalizer. I always think about learning modalities. I am a visual learner. I wanted that kind of support of other people who I know are either auditory processors, or the way my sister worked as an adaptive physical education teacher. And so the movement and the physicality of learning is also something that's so significant. But Shireen, I'd love any insight you want to share here too, because I know you brought this up in one of our other conversations. This is why we're having conversations like this, to help with awareness. So we'd love to hear some insights from you.
This is everything. And I think one of our attendees actually wrote, well, what is considered success, I think, or progress or achievement? So this is the whole problem with the entire system. Deaf Kids Code is considered the disruptor because we're not an institution. We're not funded by the Department of Education, and we're not beholden to the status quo and standards, the way we measure ability. And the reason I started Deaf Kids Code was exactly this, was the one-dimensional viewpoint that has really oppressed a large percentage of students, and basically saying that if you cannot successfully do our one-dimensional approach with standardized testing, then therefore you are washed up, your future is over, and you cannot contribute to society. And so this challenges that notion, right? Because we need the carpenters, we need the bakers, we need the poets, we need the painters, we need everybody at the table. Not everybody is going to be the same thing. And so, what matters to me is the belief system, that if there's one thing that Deaf Kids Code does, is that we sell a belief system. And so this is what we're challenging on a daily basis, every single day. And an example of that is that educators will tell us when we're bringing a workshop into their classrooms, is that what level of proficiency do they need to have in math?
Yeah.
And I'm like, see, already there's no growth mindset, because they've been so trained to having to, be focused in this one-dimensional viewpoint.
Yeah, I want to call this comment out too. We have a friend saying there is no one size fits all in education. And Shireen, you're getting comments from the crowd already. Thank you for folks.
I love you, Frank. I'm with you. Let the revolution begin.
So this brilliant conversation, Shireen, we'd love to dig in a little bit more. I'm going to actually go to the next slide.
Yeah.
And so we're just so glad that you're here to share your insight and expertise. You talked about the mission of what you are doing at Deaf Kids Code. We'd love to know more about that. So go ahead and tell us more about the mission of the work that you're doing. And I know you have some content here to share.
Yeah. So, it's actually not complex. It's actually very simple, which is that, this generation of deaf students, for example, for many of them, technology is their first language. It is their first language. So, for what is considered a virtue in today's workforce, why are we not putting all our energy and resources into cultivating what is already of great interest and what is of natural ability within these students? And, we talk about, well, technology is a universal language. When we talk about computer science, the way I explain it to our kids is that computer science is the way people communicate with technology. And then I always ask the same question, no matter who we meet, which is that who has more power in this world? A creator of technology or a user of technology? Who has more power? And that automatically shifts their mindset because it challenges them to really think about, well, who really does have more power? And then after that, we go into that, that anybody, anywhere, at any age has the ability to be a creator and has the ability to contribute to this space. And then we talk about visuospatial ability. So before I was starting the organization, obviously I'm a mom, so I have lived experience with a child that had no language at the age of 4. So, when I was seeing my son, and then I got involved with advocacy. So I was sitting in the front lines with families, with their children in schools, fighting on their IEPs and, and all of this. And my lived experience, lent me to that everybody can contribute to this space. And we've got it all wrong. The pathway is wrong. We've got it wrong and we've got to do something. And so these are the ideas, because it was not a data-driven idea, actually contrary to what most founders will tell you. Deaf Kids Code was not based on any data, because if you look at the academic achievements of our kids based on how they're measured, I knew that it was wrong and there was nothing to lose. And so visuospatial ability was a report that I found that was done by the Georgia Technical Institute. And they had, evaluated, people who were deaf versus, non-deaf people in the way they can, deductively reason and logic and visual memory and all of that. And lo and behold, deaf people had an outsized advantage over that ability. And, and so when we know that they very well have the ability to contribute with this incredible, skill set, then why are we not capitalizing and doing more to sharpen their swords? And so that's kind of the background with these bullet points, and we just recently decided to launch Deaf International Week of Scratch, because why not? We've done programming all over the world. We can go to the next slide.
All right. Well, take a moment and tell us quickly about Deaf International Week of Scratch, because you're doing something pretty brilliant here. And I know it's an incredible celebration. So I want to hear about that thought, and then we'll go to your next slide.
Okay. So basically, by utilizing Microsoft Flip, we're creating a nest for all these communities to convene in and learn from each other. It just seemed like the most perfect and ideal space and platform to do that. And it's, so Deaf Kids Code created a page that is meant to be a convening spot. It's like a global virtual community where, helps us, communicate ideas, learn from each other. Of course, when we're dealing with underdeveloped nations, there's a whole slew of challenges, lack of access to technology and so much. And so how can we overcome that? By sharing ideas, sharing networks, sharing resources. It was a logical thing to do. And yeah, we have communities from Panama and Indonesia and Mexico that are going to be participating. So yeah, so this image is an example of virtual communities that we have hosted programming for. So deaf communities exist everywhere. They're everywhere. They're even in the Caribbean islands. They're in Aruba. They're in tiny, tiny nations, and they're in larger nations. They're everywhere. And so that's the beauty, and what I'm hoping to see will come out of building our Microsoft Flip global community. This is the dream, but it's already in motion, because we have a group in China also that's planning on participating, and Kenya, and it's thrilling, and I can't wait to show you all of the beautiful works with all of you, to see that everybody has the capacity for greatness.
Mhm.
Everybody has the capacity for greatness, and that's the starting point. That is the first principle for all of this.
That right there, Shireen, everybody has the capacity for greatness. That statement alone is why this conversation, and why exploring and learning from others' experiences, and hearing, about the work that organizations like Deaf Kids Code are doing. But look at this, not only seeing the flags, I love the beautiful, diverse community that you support, but the peek inside those learning environments. Everybody has the capacity for greatness. And that statement is so profound and so powerful.
Thank you for that. I say it because I believe it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, I
naturally,
think too, yeah. So as we transition, thinking about that, sometimes people are facing challenges and challenges before achieving success. So if you want to speak to some of these barriers for entry, we're going to go ahead and focus on this. And then I know we do have more content that we want to get to as well and share, but like this, and just even broadening perspective of what to be aware of, or how to transform your pedagogy so that you can be more inclusive, or approach teaching to support diverse learners, right?
100%. What I always say is that you should be able to teach a concept in 5 different ways. Explain it in 5 different ways. And then ask your students to repeat what you thought they understood. That way, you have made sure that the bridge to access and understanding, because it's not even about just deafness, it's about processing delays. What if you come from a family where English is not its first language? What if you come from, what if you have some neurodiversity? What if you have cerebral palsy? What if you have, there's so many variables, plus there are so many disabilities that cannot be seen.
Yes.
So you don't even know who, unilateral deafness isn't even discovered in students until well into elementary school. According to data, that's after you've been flunking everything, that you discover, oh, well, you've been deaf from 1 year this entire time. So the thing is that, simple methodologies, and, the reason I put this barriers to entry is not to be a Debbie Downer, because I know that actually, though this is very much related to my experiences working with deaf programs across the country and, internationally. But if you are a public school teacher, you may already relate to this deafness or not, and unfortunately, so really it's up to the individual to be the champion for the cause. You have to be the champion for your students, and you do every day so valiantly, being under acknowledged and undercompensated and so much. I mean, there is just not enough trophies and statues for all the educators out there. My gosh, we are nothing without you. We are nothing without you. So so aside from all of these, which is, I'm just putting it out there because we already know this, and but here it is, it's like outdated methodologies, lack of opportunity, especially students with disabilities. We know that they're put in special classrooms, and they're taken away from supplemental, access, to classes like computer science or, other things. And so there's just a lack of, of everything. And so really it's up to you as a mainstream educator to really think about that. Can you teach a concept in 5 ways?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and change the screen here and just refocus this conversation for a continuation of this. And you used that phrase, be a champion for everybody. And I think we all think of Rita Pearson and that famous TED Talk about being a champion for others and being a champion for students. So Shireen, we're so inspired and thankful for your leadership and your advocacy in this space and taking time to really truly talk about that and the way that we as educators sharing it 5 different ways, teaching it 5 different ways, because if you're teaching it for one, it extends to all, right? And so those brilliant insights we are just so appreciative for. And I want to share one more visual that you have, and then Yuritsa is going to go ahead and share a few things. And then folks who are still, listening in and learning with us, this conversation is so powerful, and we want to share a few features inside the Flip product that empower your diverse learners. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to add this again to the screen because you talk about these different methodologies, and take us home for the next minute or so and let us know about these methods that work.
Okay, so our claim to fame is, hands-on interactive learning, which means that we don't care if our kids know the vocabulary word algorithm. We just know that they have the ability to create it. So we're not focused on terminology as much as we are on, actual learning, hands-on experience. We also heavily encourage our educators to learn alongside our students. So because all of our programming is 100% free, we encourage educators to sit with us, with the students, and learn together. So it's a non-pressured environment. It's a free-flowing experimental process that actually has also been our secret sauce, because educators then that have had no experience in any of this, which the majority don't, end up becoming very confident in saying, wow, this is something that can be evangelized. This is something that we could use as, as an interdisciplinary approach. There's so many ways of injecting this into your curriculum. And then the backward teaching, which is the deconstruction process. So if we're teaching them to build a website or we're teaching them to build something, we encourage the deconstruction process. Well, let's take something apart. Because when we take something apart, then we understand how to put something back together. Same thing with if you're coding a website, for example, here's the code, here's the frame. We're going to manipulate the code. Now we see how it manipulates the frame. The cause and effect is immediately understood, and so these are some basic methodologies that we have used that have been very, very successful. And
Yeah.
And so that was my 1-minute showdown.
It's an incredible showdown, those methodologies. And I mean, having time to listen and learn from you, we were joking before we went live that we wish this could have been an hour. We want more time, but these are the conversations that start today and don't have to end today. So, Shireen, we cannot thank you enough for leading and being a thought leader to help inspire us and empower us as educators, but transform work to empower all learners. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and folks, don't leave yet because we're sharing some more content. And Shireen, you and I are going to pop off the screen. Yuritsa is going to do some sharing right now. And then folks, we'll be back in just a moment.
So as we begin to really dig into transforming the narrative, especially around technology and social media, the one thing that comes to my mind is the awesome work the Digital Citizenship Institute has done. Dr. Mariellis Curran, one of my good friends, she's built this organization and this program where students are now learning about the importance of digital citizenship and equity and what that looks like for all learners. And so if you really want to dig in, here are some content creators that are really doing some awesome work around inclusivity in education. And You know, even though Mary Ellis is not here with us, she left you some tips that I believe we can all implement starting now. So we all post to social media. We've shown students how to do so in a way where it's respectable to all. But there's one more feature that I believe can make everything inclusive, and that's adding an alt text. Mariella shows us exactly how we should write these image descriptions. But remember, sometimes when we post images, not everyone is able to look at that image. And so as of today, I'm just asking all of you to increase your use of alt text, especially on social media. Next, especially for those of us who love to use hashtags, look at the difference between what to do and what to avoid. Try to capitalize the words when you're using hashtags or the beginning letters of each word. And one of my favorite features, whether you're using YouTube or you're using Flip, is this idea of closed caption features. I've used it a ton of times, especially when we think about technology in a global era. Using closed captioning allows everyone to gain the same insights that you want people who are viewing your videos to actually take in and to hold there.
So I'm going to jump back in now because this is something that we want to just give a massive shout out to you. And I know this puts Yuritsa on the spot a little bit, but she's been leading this global cultural exchange. And this is another brilliant example of diverse learners around the globe coming together to share, celebrate, and showcase learning. So Yuritsa, as we then transition into the next few slides, why don't you take a moment and tell us a little bit about this, the ways that folks have been sharing, and then we'll wrap it up with some ideas from the community and how to get started with Flip.
So the Global Cultural Exchange is an opportunity for students around the world across 6 continents to actually hop on Flip and share their culture. What's really cool about this experience is we're learning, the educators, we're learning from students. Sometimes we try to figure out like how we're going to build relationships with students and how we're going to sustain them. This is it, right? Because students are showing you about, different cooking recipes. They're telling you what it takes for them to get to school, maybe what hurdles they have to go through. But they're also showing you how they feel on a day-to-day basis. These are all things that are necessary in order to create and to cultivate and sustain an inclusive class.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. Well, let's go ahead and add Shireen back to the conversation. But what we're going to do now is actually spin through a few final ideas to help you all understand how to get started with Flip if you are brand new to it, and a few ideas from the community and feature shout outs that you might or might not know about. So Yuritsa, take it away and like keep the learning going.
Yes, if you're just starting out with Flip, guess what? It's so easy to do. Flip is social learning, and you can start in 3 easy steps. The first is creating your group. Your group is your community. You are responsible for inviting people that you want to have a video discussion. Next, you're going to spark the discussion with topics. Your topic can be anything. If you're anything like me, it might start off with food or your mood or mindfulness conversations. Remember, this is going to be the topic that gets the conversation started. And last but not least, you're going to sit back and you're going to watch the magic happen. Depending on what that topic is, you might have students just posting all sorts of videos or even your colleagues. So remember, you can get started in 3 easy steps.
It's that fast. It's that simple, right? Like the magic happens. And I know, Shireen, you have your Deaf Kids Code group that folks can join in. And I mean, it literally, we love to say, if you can think it, you can flip it. So whether it's a day 1 introduction, if you're learning to use sign language, communicating in ASL or BSL or your spoken form of communication, maybe it's dance. If you can think it, you can flip it. So we definitely wanted to share a few ideas from the community before we wrap. So I love sharing tweets from the community because we learn better when we're together, right? And Corey and our good friend John, the new Dr. John Pauls, is talking about those ASL stickers inside Flip. So folks might not know these even exist if you're not using the sticker feature inside of Flip, but I love calling these out because it's a beautiful way for students to create, but also maybe it is a celebration of learning a brand new way to communicate, or maybe it's using ASL to share and celebrate. So we want to make you all aware that this sticker pack exists. You can find it right there when you launch the Flip camera and you hover over those effects. Just click stickers and you can toggle right over to ASL. And if you want to learn how to use American Sign Language, we have an augmented lens right inside the Flip camera. So when you launch the camera and you see that smiley face, tap on it. And one of the options is Learn ASL. And you can go through the alphabet and learn how to finger spell. So we launched this last summer at ISTE, and it's been so incredible to see our community learn and celebrate with the camera feature to learn ASL. So Yuritsa, some other features that folks might or might not be aware of.
Oh, this is my favorite feature. Well, one of them. The next feature is actually my favorite, right? But closed captions. When we speak about just the opportunity for students, especially those who speak English as a second language, to have access to a video that has been recorded in English, you can edit your closed caption. And here I show you exactly how. After you're done filming your Flip video, you can hit the 3 dots or the more options, click on edit captions, and you can go in and edit those closed captions. So that way, when students use the next feature that I'm going to speak about, they'll have access. Immersive Reader. They'll have access to the same text that you've edited in closed caption in their preferred language. And this is easy as well, right? So if educators, if you're writing topics, and if you're anything like me and you only speak 2 languages, but you have students in your class that speak more than 2 or speak a different language, you can still write the text of your topic and description in English. And then at the top right corner, you're going to select the book with the speaker that opens up Immersive Reader. Students are going to click on that open book, and guess what? They get to choose whichever language they want the text to be transformed to. And that's not it. Yeah. They can also have it read out loud. When we're talking about accessibility, when we're talking about inclusion, when we're talking about creating a classroom that includes all learners, this is it.
Yeah, I think this is one of our favorite things. And Shireen, I keep looking at you on the screen and thinking about your Deaf Kids Code Flip group and all of those countries that are involved in your community. Like, this is a beautiful tool to empower people simply to connect, right? Oh, that's so powerful. Oh my gosh. Well, y'all know we love sharing ideas to empower. And so if you're not aware of this ability, your members can generate their own transcripts inside of Flip. So when a video is recorded, perhaps it's without audio, since that is a feature to toggle off the audio. If there's no transcript or audio capture, when you click the edit captions, you have the ability to add your own captions. So you'll see the steps on screen: edit captions, add your own. And this is also a brilliantly inclusive way to empower your members to share in their own unique way. And as we get ready to wrap up, we want to leave you with a few accessibility best practices. And this is another incredible shout out to some of the other features inside Flip perhaps you don't know about. If your community wants to zoom their Flip screen, this is a 200% zoom that allows those fine details to zoom well on the screen or device that you're using. If you're using keyboard navigation and tabbing through, that is definitely available for you to use inside Flip, as well as screen reader integrations. If you are utilizing one of those, Flip will work with your screen reader. So definitely feel free to be trying that or using that if that is a tool or device that supports. I just mentioned the ability to turn off audio. Again, if you want to cut out background noise, or perhaps you are creating a video in ASL or BSL or a spoken spoken sign communication, turn off the background audio and leverage those captions if you wish. But I have to leave my final thought in the words of Liz Maddie, who's our head of accessibility at Flip: designing for one extends to all. So this is a brilliant way to think about perhaps the way captioning is used. Maybe one person is wanting to use and leverage closed captioning, but let me tell you, I watch TV with it. I watch my social media with it. I watch my videos with it, and definitely design for one, but extend all of these supports to all. So, Shireen, I want to ask you to unmute and share any closing thoughts. This has been a brilliant conversation, and we just appreciate the thought leadership, the insight, and the expertise. We'd love to hear your closing thoughts.
Well, I'm grateful to have all these interested individuals chiming in on this conversation. It's important to remember that 30% of the US population has a disability in some way, shape, or form. And the majority of students with disabilities are in mainstream schools. They're not in specialized schools. So even deaf students, low vision students, on and on, are in your schools. And so I think that, universal design principles and all of these aspects are valuable. It just adds more in everybody's arsenal in, bridging the gap. And so that's what I wanted to say is, it's really awesome that you have such an incredible and vibrant community of like people that still have that fire in them that want to do more. So it's phenomenal. And all of you are welcome to get in touch with me through LinkedIn, or, we have social channels as well as a website, obviously. But if there's ever anything that I can help you with, please feel free to reach out.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. And so, Shireen, I'm going to go ahead and share our screen one more time. But before we wrap, I want to say thank you. And Tyler, who's been joining us as our sign language interpreter. Tyler, thank you. It has been such an absolute honor to have you here providing interpretation and making this conversation even more inclusive for everybody. So, Yaritza, let's wrap it up here. And we're going to share one final thought before we go.
Let's wrap it up. So as we continue to learn, right, because that's what we do as educators, learning never stops. Head on over to flip.com/thinkitflipit, and all of the resources that we mentioned today, plus some videos, are within that group. Head on over. Like, what are you waiting for?
Definitely get connected there. And for folks, we would love any feedback you can provide about the professional development that we're offering. If you have ideas of what else you'd like to see, please feel free. Drop us some feedback using aka.ms/flippd feedback. And we simply want to say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining in today, for spending some time learning, talking about accessibility, awareness, and Flip. We are so grateful for you. And again, one final thank you to Shireen and Tyler, and also our good friend Mary Alice for sending so much love to you. All right, everybody, thank you for tuning in. We hope you have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.